I was gonna ask you, what's that shaker sample? It looks like, did that come with the one over there that was on this table?
Oh yeah, so that came with
The bags and the mini
all
shakers.
the other shakers. And I told them I didn't want more metal shakers, but I don't dislike that. But I need the fucking shit to last a little longer.
There's a quality issue, yeah. Yeah.
So with the big ones, the bottoms were falling off of them somehow. Mine never did, but some people's the bottoms fell off of them. That one doesn't have a bottom, if you know what I'm talking about.
It's bottomless.
Bottomless. I like that it's not as big.
Yeah, no, it screws on decent. But one thing I notice is I always find it funny, and this goes for like, it could be a blender bottle of a certain color too. But when they put the measurements on the outside, but the color's so dark you can't even see.
Still can't see it.
So it's like, what is the point of putting the measurements on there if I have to like look inside and guess where the level is? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah.
They should just. Who are we? They should. Sound like a bunch of old men. That's what they should do.
Yeah.
Keep it clear like that.
Yeah, just keep it clear.
Instead of phasing it, or like, what is that? Like,
or with the metal ones, what I've seen that like better brands do, I think Ice Shaker does, I know Blender Bottle, they do it, is they have the measurements on the inside of the thing. So when you're filling up the drink, you can see, okay, what level it's at. Put it on the outside is kind of stupid from the get-go.
It is.
You know?
Yeah, the inside should be the move.
Yeah.
Unless it's clear.
Yeah.
But what's happening, y'all?
Yeah.
This is the All or Nothing Show.
Starting you off with a conversation you don't care anything about.
Probably didn't know what we were talking about.
No.
But it's Monday. We're after. It's a little later than we usually start, but we're here.
I'm feeling real positive this week. At last week, the last few weeks, for better for worse, have been a lot of work for me, and you know, I'm fine with that. I like to be busy. I like to be productive, but I did get to the weekend, and I had, basically like 6 hours on both days of like editing. And, if y'all don't know, like do video editing for clients across the country, whatever, that's my main kind of gig. And so basically I was working all weekend, and then I had to do an 8-mile run Saturday, 6-mile run Sunday, obviously weight train as well. And so I feel like of like a 16-hour day that you're awake, I was kind of locked up 12, 14 hours from the get-go. And it's not something to complain about too much because you'd rather have opportunity, things could be way worse.
I don't want to be twiddling my fingers either.
Exactly. But it's hard to go 7 days in a row and then cycle right back to that Monday, and there's no stop to the work. There's no off season. There's no like weekend. There's no vacation days as a business owner or freelancer because you don't get paid if you don't work. So I felt a little bit run down the last 2 weeks, but I will say today I feel good. I feel refreshed. Had a good workout this morning. That always can, kind of kickstart things. Mondays and Fridays are, instead of running every day like I used to, I have those 2 off days on my leg days. And I think that's really helped me recover from this injury because just having that one day where my body can have a break has done a good bit of help for A, recovery, but B, catching up on some work because I know I have that extra hour, 2 hours that I would be running.
Yeah.
And I'm able to just increase my volume on those other days. But I'm feeling, to wrap all that up, I'm feeling good this week. I'm feeling optimistic. How are you feeling?
Blah. I get, like, I see what you're saying, like a rest day. Or not working out on a particular day gives you that extra time to, like, do whatever. But, I mean, for you work out before the work day starts anyway. So, like, that isn't really adding anymore. Are you working at 4:35 a.m. if you aren't working out?
No, so the workout never really changes. That's not really what fills up my day too much.
Yeah.
It's more the hour, 2 hours later running because you have that kind of throws me off.
Weight training.
No, because it's middle of the day or later in the evening, like run, right? And, okay, it's only an hour, right, you'd say. But then there's, 15 minutes driving there, 15 minutes back, so it turns into an hour and a half, a little bit of warm-up, and then, it's an extra shower, extra fueling. These little things just add up, and so they take up some time, and you don't want to, like yesterday, I didn't really eat anything except like a protein shake and a Cliff Bar after my workout, and then 4 or 5 hours after working, I go to run, and my stomach's grumbling the entire run, and I know, then the run on top of that's going to make me more hungry because I'm, exercising. And you don't want to do that because it just, A, it sucks, and B, your body needs fuel to perform well. So
for sure.
It's a tough thing, though, and I'll say probably people think just because, you work out at a gym or whatever, we talked about it before, things can certainly be easier to just step outside of your office, right, and you're at the gym. It's definitely more convenient. We both can and benefit from the productivity from not having to drive to meet clients, things like that. But there's still, there's still times where it's tough to fit in food to meal prep at night, whatever is going on. But it's just for anyone out there struggling with it, trying to find times and prioritize things. And when you do get free gaps or hours, sometimes sacrificing some free time will make your next few days of your week, a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm feeling pretty good, man. I would assume my clot is breaking up pretty well, at least in my leg, because I can bend my leg. So, like, if you would have hollered at me last Monday, you
had it elevated all week last week.
Yeah, I had it elevated on the show last week, and now it's down. I don't really feel much pressure. It almost just feels like I trained calves. Like, that's the pain level or sensation level it's at now. A week ago, felt like I tore something. The week before that felt like it was off the bone, like meat off the bone type tear. And so it's progressively gotten better, and each day I wake up, I'm able to, like, hop out of bed and immediately start walking instead of having to, like, warm it up and shit like that. But it's progressively gotten better. I do have a hematologist appointment today or this afternoon, so hopefully I'll get some words of encouragement about working out, getting back to it, hopefully.
Yeah, a blood specialist?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know hematoma is like, the swelling.
Yeah, like of the blood.
Head, yeah.
But they actually, so, like, it's kind of crazy. You go to this office, but it's a cancer office. So, like, you go in there, and most people are in there for cancer.
Chemo, whatever.
Chemo, whatever cancer they might be dealing with. But I'm in there fucking dicking around with the blood clot. So, like, I feel grateful when I walk in there, or, like, appreciative that, like, I'm in a better scenario. Even though, like, I'm not happy with myself in the situation I'm in. It could always be worse, obviously. But so I'll go up in there, say what's up. Hopefully, I'm sure he's probably going to be like, yo, what the fuck? We were supposed to be, like, getting off of blood thinners, and now I'm getting back on them.
Oh, is this a guy you saw before?
Yeah, it's the same doctor. Yeah. So I'm just like, this appointment, for anybody that doesn't know, is supposed to be the follow-up of my blood clot back in July. So back in July, I got DVT in my leg after a long ride. I don't know if it's related to the ride.
I didn't know it was diagnosed as deep vein thrombosis. Okay.
Yeah. So back then it was DVT. Got on blood thinners, and he was like, hey, I'm going to pull you off 2 weeks before our follow-up, February 7th, so I can run one more test on you and get you off blood thinners. And then, right as I got off the blood thinners, got through another one. Might have been COVID. Who knows what the fuck it was. Could have been a little bit of me. Yeah. But we'll find that out here soon. Hopefully there'll be some more testing and see what the cause is.
It's tough, I feel like we talked about it last week. I was saying with overcoming my injury, and I don't really want to talk about that too much, but it's just so hard to, when you're in the thick of it, to just see the other side. You almost just want to fast forward through all this bullshit and this recovery, and it is easy to just kind of sulk and be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Or like, what, why did this happen or whatever? And but like you said, if you really think about it, there's a lot of people that have a lot more difficulties, or that,
actually got some shit to deal. Like,
really got problems.
My scenario, as long as I'm not a dickhead, I should be able to bounce back and, like, get back to normal activities here soon. But most people don't get that option. Yeah. Something hits them, life hits them, and it's like, hey, you aren't, like, you're done. Whatever you were doing, you're done. You're just fighting to fucking live type deal. For my scenario, I'm breathing, I'm upright, I've fucking been working, like, I'm good to go. But it definitely is a perspective or a little, gut check, ego check, pride thing, whatever. It's like, I'm not that bad off. Yes, it's inconvenient, blah, blah, blah. But if I have to, for some reason, we talk about the cycle and I have to, like, dial back things on that, then that's the case. And I'll just figure out
8-hour arm days.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, if I'm going to talk to him about it because it's just crazy how, for anybody that doesn't know, up to this point, I was training for a Century ride, and training was ramping up. And the original Blood Clot, it's coincidence, maybe not, but happened around of me ramping up and actually getting regular with cycling.
Yeah.
And who knows, clients have sent me studies of like PubMed and Examine and shit like that of people that are getting DVT from extended periods of time on a bike seat, because it can occlude veins, arteries, blah, blah, blah. And my toes did get tingly, a little numb, when I'd ride those 2 or 3 hour rides, but not to the point where I was like not feeling my legs. But
here's what I'll say. And I feel like this will be the first real practical thing I feel like we touch on here is, I was running on the trails Thursday last week. I did 2.5 miles, and someone asked a question on Instagram. I was answering it about how long did it take you to recover from your IT band injury? Yeah. And I said whatever, and then I had someone on Instagram that we know lightheartedly responded to my story and was like, yeah, I feel like sometimes, IT bands or certain injuries like never heal, whatever. They just, keep coming up. And I responded, I was like, haha, like, yeah, sometimes things can be, constant pestering kind of like issues. But I think with enough attention to strengthening the areas, patience, you can recover. Your body can recover from almost any injury. And I think it's so common for people to just be like, I got a bad shoulder, or I got bad hips. And if you ask them, what are you doing about it? They'd probably just say, I'm resting on it, or if it bothers me, I just don't push it. But that's just like, it's just a piss poor approach.
Yeah.
You got to be, as annoying as it is, I'm keeping the exact same warm-up for this IT band, no matter whether it bothers me or not. Because, the moment you take your attention away from it, yeah, you're going to have these recurring injuries. But I feel like you got to use them as learning lessons and not only add things to your warm-up regimen or cool-down, but also re-examine ways that you can kind of prevent. You can't just address things as they come, but you want to prevent things ahead of time. So some simple things like strengthening stability in my feet and in my ankles is something I've like wanted to start working on a little bit. I don't have to throw off, take lunges out or take this or that out of like my normal strength training program. But if I can just, spend maybe a little bit of time on a BOSU ball or these different things, because as you expand outside of these very sedentary type exercises of curls and shoulder press and this and that, and you get a lot more dynamic, things can get a little bit, you're more likely to kind of injure yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
And, take into consideration, this is what I think, and this is what the hematologist told me, the last time we met before this second event of DVT and clot in the lung. Because I mentioned the bike, and he was like, I don't think it is. He thinks it's more so maybe my vasculature in my leg that's all fucked up from the wreck 13 years ago. And that's also like a side note, a story or a conversation I had with my brother-in-law Saturday. Saw him. He was like, damn, he's like, he's like, after I told him what's going on and potentially it being my leg, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, dude, that's like, just like any other body's, story of like, hey, this happened back in the day and now I'm paying for it. Now the injuries, what I did 13 years ago with that wreck is now catching up to me.
Yeah.
Whether it's the vasculature being all fucked up, the blood pooling in my foot, any other aches and pains that I'm just going to have to deal with and sort of work through. I think the worst thing for me to do is just not do anything.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I kind of got lost in what I was talking about, but what I'm getting at is it's easy to just say you have an issue, whether it's, bad hips, bad knees,
and
so
like
I don't squat, and give you an out,
Yeah.
and just give up on it. Be like, my body's not made for running,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people say that, or and sometimes they're saying it jokingly, but the thing is, take steps if it's important to you. You can take steps to do the activity that you want to do. If it is cycling, if that's causing some issues, unless it's literally giving you problems that could like lead to death,
which DVT can,
which it can, but trying to find ways to address it, I guess, and actually like work. Like all I'm saying is it's a lazy take to just be like, I injured my rotator cuff 10 years ago. I can't ever shoulder press.
Mhm.
You know, it's not as always as black and white as that.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. Not at all. And we'll see. We'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
it could be something that isn't the bike, but the bike or having that extended period of time with poor blood flow to my leg is causing something like that. And that's just something that I got to figure out and fix. It's not something that I'm gonna be like, oh, dude, I'm fucking young. Well, hopefully I consider myself still young, at least mentally. I'm only 32.
I think there is young.
If I just hung everything up, I'm like, oh, I got poor blood flow in my leg, I shouldn't work out anymore because I have the potential to get blood clots or whatever, then that's only going to make my lifestyle and habits even worse.
Yeah.
You know, or it's not going to make me any better. And for me to last as long as I want to and have a long, healthy, sustainable life, I need to be moving my body, strengthening it, work around whatever the fuck I got going on, at least trying to figure out if there is a fix. And if there isn't, try and figure out a way to work my way around it so I can still, you know, keep moving. But I don't think this is me giving up on cycling at all, but it's more so the coincidence is there. Is it that? Maybe, maybe not. I definitely think it's my leg is the main issue, and then maybe things like that are like, you know, even more speeding up the process of blood backing up in my leg. I'm not. Who knows what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But hopefully, with more testing and me figuring out some more specialists that I maybe need to reach out to, we can figure out what the deal is. But so far, I mean, worst case scenario, I set the bike down for a little bit, figure out what the fuck's going on, and do something else that wouldn't occlude my veins, like run or fucking whatever else that might be.
Yeah, speaking of running, this past Saturday was the Rocky Raccoon 100-mile race. And something I've noticed about myself, and I started it a little bit into the fall and like the summer. I kind of watch these big-time races because sometimes they'll have these live streams where you can kind of, some of them are really well done where they have some cameras or cameramen kind of catch people, you know, along the trail or they follow like the leaders of the race. So I was watching like the UTMB, which is this trail that goes through, starts in France, Chamonix, France, and then it goes through, I think, like Sweden and one other country or whatever. Damn, I'm getting hit with the Alani Nu burps. But I feel like you asked me a year ago, maybe even less, definitely before that, hey, would you watch a running live stream on like YouTube or something? Like, what the fuck am I watching running on you know, video for? It's kind of like watching NASCAR, right?
Yeah.
And not that I do this often, but and they didn't have one for the Rocky Raccoon, but it's funny because I was like checking the results a little bit, like, you know, as they because it's a loop race, so it's 520-mile loops, and so as they kind of go through, their time gets tallied as, you know, whatever laps they do, whatever it is, and so Nick Bear was running it, so that was, you know, some more influencer interest. But I had another guy that I've been following for probably like 6 months now. That was this firefighter dude. I think he lives out in like Arizona, but he has this. I think he just finished his 100th week of running 100+ miles in a week, and he's just like, some people are just crazy, man. Because the dude, so that's already crazy, right? Running 100, and most weeks he's like 160 to 200 miles a week, which, if you do the math, is like 16 to 20 miles a day, which even if you run a super fast pace, dude's spending 2.5 to like 4 hours a day out running.
So is he string bean?
He's thin, but he's not like rail thin, you know, but he's a skinnier dude, yeah. And and then on top of that, you know, he just announced he's running another 100 for his birthday, like 2 weeks from now. He just ran this weekend, and the 2 weeks like before he ran a 100-mile.
Oh.
So some of these dudes, you know, it's crazy. They just, how it's crazy how resilient some people's bodies are to just adapt and get put through that much, you know?
And do you I honestly, I mean, yes, their body has to hold up, but it's more mental.
It is especially for ultras. It's, you know, you obviously don't run all 100 miles, you know, or you have these gaps, right, where you're walking some inclines, you're taking like these breaks, you're stopping at aid stations, but yeah, it has to be so much just mental strength. And I think with running and with endurance, there's this level of turning off the brain, and you're just moving. You almost like separate. I've had this feeling where I've almost, when I get into like 8+ miles of like a long run where I know I'm doing 14 or more, I almost get this feeling like my mind and body are separate, and I don't have to think about my steps anymore. I don't think about my stride, and I'm kind of just in a zone. I'm kind of just spaced out. I'm thinking about my thoughts separately, and my body's kind of just, it's like I'm in a vehicle, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I can't, you're not running super fast when you're in that kind of zone, but I feel like the better runners maybe can. They can get in a rhythm and move fast and just kind of just turn off thinking for a second, because to hold that consistent, repetitious movement for so long, you can't be focused on the movement itself for that long.
Yeah.
You can't focus on anything for that long. So, it just it's really just grabbed my interest so much, just like the sport of ultra running, and it's been exciting, and I'm looking forward to running this race now that I'm a bit more healthy, and because that was my biggest thing, was I was like, let me just toe the line with healthy legs, which I believe I'm at that point, and I feel like I'm real close to my fitness level that I was for the marathon, but it's like when you sign up for these races, and the same could go for when you did the 50 mile and when you eventually do the 100, you sign up to do this distance knowing not maybe is it going to be hard, or maybe am I going to have to like dig deep, or maybe am I going to be just in so much pain and exhaustion. It's like I'm going to be.
Yeah.
It's like I'm paying $120 to feel like absolute dog shit at mile 24 and troop through to the 33 miles total.
Yeah.
Or like for the 100, like I'm going to literally be hurting so bad at mile 70, and I'm going to have to run another 30,
Yeah.
But there's something, you just smile at that. You're like, yeah, let's do it.
It's a little different, I guess, for my case, because I wasn't, at least the track that I'm doing wasn't a lap, but I've mentioned it before, is getting to the halfway part to where you have to turn back and do the same route coming back. So it's like you go out, you got to come back. That's what I look.
I love out and backs. Yeah, I love out and backs.
Because I was like, man, I made it out here. Now I got to turn it around and hike it the fuck back.
Have you ever had to, I don't know in your instance if you have, because you've usually done it off time, but come back to your starting point, but you still have a little bit left you have to do, and then you have to like loop a little area. Go. I hate that.
I've done it 2 or 3 times.
I hate it.
And it's wild because I don't know if it's Strava, because that's what I usually keep my time off of. And I look down at the app, I'm like, how did it take me a fucking hour and 10 minutes to get out, but I got back within 45 minutes? You know what I'm saying? I was like, what, is there a tailwind or something?
It's funny, yeah. It's funny. Sometimes it's just like the elevation or whatever.
I also think I speed up over time. We talked about this. Once you like get into that like couple, like 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in, like your pace is even better.
Yeah.
Then there comes a
body
point
wakes up
when a wall hits you too, to where you start to hit that upper echelon of like that tier of where you're hitting that threshold for yourself, to where you start to slow down again.
Yeah.
And that's where like the test really comes into whether you can keep it moving forward or you're just fucking. What I don't ever stop, but I'm sure it's like some people might stop and take a break, but with a bike it's easier just to keep rolling. Stopping sucks.
Yeah, stopping does suck.
And I never get that, or I never got with cycling, I never got that time. There's some stretches where I could get that time to just like think a little bit, but most of the time I'm still having to switch gears and shit, so I'm having to think quite a bit.
Yeah, it might be a little bit different for cycling. And again, my running isn't like the most high level, experience shit in the world. I'm not pushing like world beater paces.
Yeah, neither was I.
But it's a fun sport, man.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it.
Sport,
I'm looking forward to getting back out there, whether it's just a couple little rides here and there, just to get back on the path,
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish I don't know. I wish I could like relate it to more people.
I wouldn't have known until I actually went out there.
Yeah,
and it sucks because it's very not disappointing, but you can beat yourself up very quick because you think it's going to be easy until you get out there. Because I remember I did a ride around here with Jake's bike for like 5 miles. I was like, yo, that was like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I
was like, holy shit, man. I did it for 15, 20 minutes. I came back. I was like, I was only like 3-something miles. Holy shit. And I wanted to do 100.
Yeah.
So it can be a gut check for sure.
Well, for sure. And then as you get more into it, the gut checks just keep coming.
Yeah.
I think I talked about it last week, so I don't want to overdo it. But, when you run your first marathon, and then if your goal is to do like 100 like me, you look at that and you're like, fuck, I got to do that 3 more times?
Yeah.
How the hell am I
Better
supposed
pack
to
a
do
lunch.
that? Yeah, it's it's wild, man.
But
it's wild.
You get a little
It's
bit of the
baby
high.
steps.
Yeah,
It's
for
baby
sure.
steps,
And a
yeah.
little bit of the high is trying. Not every time's a PR, but trying to like beat a record from this point to that point a little bit faster, or making this part of the trail or path a little bit easier than the last time. Like I've noticed, like the inclines, me doing all that stationary training with the watts and shit like that, paid off going up hills. Like I could power through some shit way more than before, and it's like, damn, like just going out there and feeling those extra like PRs, even though they aren't PRs, like. Inside, you're like, damn, this feels good. Like, it gets you hooked a little bit.
Yeah, especially when you have those days where you're just on.
Yeah, things click.
Because, like, Thursday, when I ran that trail, I just was on. You know, it's kind of like you said, I was going up inclines, and I didn't slow down for a second.
Yep.
I almost just, like, built up to it, and coming down, just in such a good groove, you know? It just makes you feel alive. You feel like you're just crushing it. Doesn't matter what anybody else's pace is. You're just feeling it. And then when I looked at it after, because it's been months, like 3 months since I've ran, basically since the marathon that I've ran anything over 10 miles. So running that 14 mile on the trail, not only is it 14 miles, but on the trail is important. And I actually had a few achievements on Strava, which I haven't seen for months, you know. And it's not all about PRing every time you're out there. It's not what you're trying to do. But it is very satisfying when you see, you know, the fastest time you've done that segment or this or that, right?
That's what I was about to say.
Feels
a
great.
segment, a pace, whatever. You know, it's pretty good.
And so seeing that, I was like, man, fuck yeah. Because I thought it was just going to take me so much longer to get back to where I was fitness level-wise. And just to see some of these things come fast. Like, for a while, I was running like a 10:30 pace was like my easy, and that's a good half minute to minute slower than my usual, but now I'm kind of back to running like 10 minutes kind of easy. And yeah, man, it's a slow build, but so is lifting, you know, and it's the same kind of premise where you have to just focus on your own individual journey, because it's so easy to feel excited about whatever you just ran, and then you see someone on Instagram that ran it 2 minutes faster, lifted 100 more pounds at like a lighter weight, and you can get down on yourself, you know, but
it definitely all translates.
Yeah.
You know, if you like beating yourself up in the gym with the weights, you would probably enjoy this just as much. It's even a different threshold too.
It's they're just different, and they're alike in a lot of ways. But it's so hard to get people to, and it was hard to get me into running, because it's like it just doesnn't sound fun. It doesn't. It's not flashy.
And I think for most, especially running, it's like, oh, I don't want to do cardio.
Yeah,
I weight lift. I got bodybuilder. I weight train.
I'm not trying to get skinny or something.
People think, you know, that just because you start adding in some, you know, extra activity that you're just going to melt away.
You know what's another thing too that I was thinking about? I was looking at someone's page, and you know, they started to post a little bit more like higher quality photos, and you know, a little bit more consistent with captions, things like that. And I was thinking, a little bit of me was like, I could look at this one of two ways. Most people would be like, who does this guy think he is? Like, what is he trying to do now? Does he think he's like an influencer? Or I could look at it and be like, okay, like he's actually starting to like take an attempt. Let's see where this goes, right? Because I was thinking about it, and two things. One, when I first started posting more consistently on Instagram, I'm sure people thought the same thing. But when you and same deal with running. When I first started running, people were like, "Is he just doing this for cardio? Like, what is he doing? Running 2 miles here, 3 miles there? Like, what is he trying to do? Who is he? He's a lifter, and now he's running." And then you do it long enough, you post consistently enough, you stick with the business long enough, you run long enough, whatever. Now people are like, "Oh, Brock, like he's like a runner." Some people would just like probably refer to me as that, or like, "Oh, Brock, like he lifts and runs, does whatever." It's not as weird. They're like, "Oh, that's just who he is. He lifts and runs." Now, you know, when before it was like he's a lifter, now he's like kind of running. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. You know, and or like now, oh yeah, Brock social media is normal. He's always writing captions like that, or doing this or doing that. You know, like Austin, like he cycles all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he does. You know what I mean? It just takes time to stick that out, and people like accept it over time. You know?
Yeah, I think a lot of I agree with you, and I think what the deeper thing you're trying to pull out is people box themselves in, and they're too afraid to like let themselves show out in public or on
you
social
almost
media.
play to people's perception of you.
Yeah,
and you don't realize that you can actually change your perception. It just takes time, and people seeing the same thing over and over and over. It's kind of like, for example, damn, these burps get me, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It's kind of like headphones I just got, right? They're called Aftershocks, right, was the company. But now they're rebranding to Shocks. Well, in my mind and a lot of people's mind, they're Aftershocks, right? So you just keep saying it. But eventually if the brand's like, no, this is how we're framing our name, this is the logo, you see it enough times, 6 months from now, I'm going to be like, oh, these are Shocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's the same deal with your perception or people's perception of you. You know, if you want people to view you as X, Y, or Z, or, you know, to kind of respect whatever you're doing, just do it long enough. Just stick it out.
Yeah.
And I think people will get used to it.
For sure.
It sounds like simple, but like you said, a lot of people do just kind of box themselves in, and they're afraid to step out of this character because maybe if they're like, hey, if I don't powerlift, if I don't run, if I don't work at whatever job, who am I? It's like a little bit of like a reality check, and it's, you know, what is my reason for exercising if it's not to compete? Or
and then almost people might say like, oh, nobody will care if I don't keep posting this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people care because you're actually doing something intentful.
Yeah.
Something
that was something too I was talking to Peyton about, because, you know, we were talking a little bit about how kind of like the reel you just posted, the reel I mostly recently posted, and, you know, I was telling him, I was like, I don't really want to post content that is very specific to a certain type of content, for example. So being the mobility guy, right? Always posting mobility tips, or being the comedy influencer that always does a very specific character or thing, right? Or you always use a certain kind of audio, you make, you know, motivational quotes or something from other people. Because eventually it gets repetitive, one. But the bigger thing, too, is I want people to follow me for me. Because if they follow me for Brock Covington, then they know they're interested in, like, what I'm doing. They're interested in whatever, like, products I'm promoting. They're interested in, like, my content for me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if they're only coming to my profile to look at warm-up tips, or only to look at it for my squat videos or whatever, then they're not the quality followers, I guess, that you want.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're less likely to, I feel like, engage with you and actually have worthwhile connection with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just like, I don't know how to, like, break that down even simpler, but
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm getting
It's
at,
something,
yeah.
you know, they can relate with you, and more what are the, like, the target points than just one. It's like, oh, he's a funny guy because he puts out comedy shit. But now, oh, he runs, though. Oh, he's got a dog. Oh,
Here's a good example. It's Christian Guzman. If you don't know, came up on YouTube, lifting, competing. No one follows him for lifting or competing now. They followed him for his interesting personality, the business he was starting. So, you know, from there he could start his clothing company. People bought that because they love and believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he started, you know, 3D Energy. They love that because they loved and believe in him.
Yep.
And it just kind of builds from there. And obviously you got to provide value, you know, but if you kind of box yourself in one specific thing and you don't have any variety, you know, it's hard to switch back on that later.
For sure.
So you got to always kind of, you know, even if you're not going to get as much following, I feel like stick to your guns with who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we don't really have any updates with Gym Flow, really.
I was going to say, is there nothing with the pump?
No, so that should still be in the works. It's queued up, ready to go. Manufacturing should be done. Well, hopefully by, February, maybe mid-March is about the timeline of that, like, 12 to 14 week. We did have a shirt drop this past week, the Keep Moving Forward tee. That's still available on the site. Check it out. It's in the under the apparel tab. And, yeah, new shakers are in stock. We posted about that, though, so you already know. But, yeah, we're moving it. Still.
You got questions, topics.
For real.
Interesting things. Shoot us, or a guest even.
Yeah.
A guest even. Shoot us a DM, comment on this if you're on YouTube, and that way we can give you all some entertaining shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, follow us all in the description below. We'll see y'all next week.